There has been much speculation and many who have looked at what George Lucas has done with Star Wars and not been happy. But I think you need to hear what Sam Witwer says about George Lucas and why George Lucas is actually a genius. Whether you love George Lucas or you don't like George Lucas, no matter where you stand, you need to hear what Sam says in this video because I think it outlines really the genius of what George Lucas did in creating Star Wars and all of the things that surrounded it because it really builds on one another. And even if you look at the prequels and they're not your favorite, you have to hear this. You have to hear how George came about with all of these things and how it should actually change the way you view George Lucas. And this is the genius of George Lucas. It's not just the directing, but it was the future foresight on how to build this Star Wars empire.
So this guy, and again, like what kind of maniac then wins making Star Wars, then takes all of that money and invests it into The Empire Strikes Back. That was an independent film.
This story is crazy. Listen to what Sam Witwer says.
And then Return of the Jedi, that's an independent film. Fox did the first one, but he negotiated away his directing fee so that he could get the rights to make the sequel.
Don't forget to hit that like button if you're interested to hear the rest of this story, because the very idea that he was able to negotiate the rights to the sequel is what made the rest possible. ILM, Lucasfilms, LucasArts, everything that comes as a result of that one negotiation.
First of all, I'd love to have been on that meeting. Can you imagine? Fox is like, guys, that Cleopatra movie almost destroyed the entire studio, but Star Wars, guys, we did it. Popping the champagne. Yes, we didn't even know what he was doing, but I'm so glad we took the bet. George Lucas came through. 20th Century Fox is on top, baby. You know what we should do? What's that? We should make a sequel. Oh, yeah. Let's make a sequel to Star Wars. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be so great because, the Jawas, people love the Jawas. Let's put more Jawas in there. They just love all that. It's going to be on Tatooine. It's going to be amazing. We're making a Star Wars sequel.
Just wait till he gets to his impression of George Lucas. It gets even better.
You see in the back of the room, there's like a lawyer, junior lawyer, who's like sweating, going like...
Oh, I don't know whose laugh that was, but whoa.
And they're like, Brian, get over here. Why are you looking so nervous? We're popping some champagne. He's like, I have the contract for Star Wars.
Shaking.
Well, we're doing a sequel. Yeah, we are doing a sequel. Well, George is doing a sequel. Yeah, but we're doing it, right? No. No, he negotiated so that he got the sequel rights. We don't own it. What? What kind of hole would negotiate away his own? Why do we? No, this can't be. I just wanted more Jawas in my Star Wars. What's going on? And then George is like, yeah, check it out.
Just listen to this impersonation. It's so good. It's so good.
What's going on? And then George is like, yeah, check it out. We're going to the ice planet Hoth. And you're not even going to believe what the deal with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. So, like, he and then he takes it, and they're like, well, we can finance it, right, George? No, I'm going to pay for it myself. Let me write on the slip. No, I mean, and then when The Empire Strikes Back happens, what does he do? He takes that money, invests it in Return of the Jedi, and it's Skywalker Ranch. This place where he develops all kinds of, we're going to have a video game called Lucasfilm Games or LucasArts or something, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And he just kept investing in the creative process, creating things like digital audio, digital editing, all this stuff.
And if you haven't seen the documentary on Disney Plus about Industrial Light and Magic and how it really was the foundation, if you haven't gone into that, I'd really encourage you to watch it. It's well worth your time. It's well produced. Even if you don't like Star Wars that much right now, or you don't like George Lucas, it's worth your time just to see how we got the movies we got, because this is exactly right. If George had not negotiated the rights to that sequel, he would not have been able to take all of the proceeds from that independent film and bet on himself and the Star Wars universe to make everything that we have today. It's wild to think that that one decision may have been the very thing that made Star Wars Star Wars. So before you get too overly critical of the decisions George Lucas has made, or if you aren't a huge fan of George Lucas Star Wars, I don't know what to tell you, because without those decisions, we would get nothing. Even if you look at the prequels and you don't like the prequels, listen to what Sam has to say about that perspective.
And it has completely changed the world several times over in terms of not just the technology that we use, but the ideas that have gone into his films have permeated our culture and has become, part of the lexicon of our culture. So, yes, my fandom in Lucasfilm and in Star Wars is because I am a fan of George Lucas, which is why when I saw the prequels and I was, old enough to be one of those guys who's like, this is crap, man. Yeah, no. And I'm just like, I want to watch this more closely because this is George Lucas that did this. What is he going for here? Why is this so different than what I expected it would be? Because I've been thinking about Star Wars prequels my entire life, ever since the originals came out. I knew he would do these. This is not at all what I expected.
And it's usually when our expectations do not match reality that we get frustrated. And so it's no wonder that many folks, like Sam, were frustrated at the prequels. But if you maybe take a step back and look at them a little differently, you might just see there's more going on.
Because it wasn't what I expected, I learned a valuable lesson, which is don't repeat yourself. Try something new. Push yourself in a new direction that you've never been in before. And I learned that from the prequels, being like, this is why I'm watching these movies over and over again in the theater, because they're so different than what I expected. And then because I was able to get on his page, I was suitable to be brought in to work on Star Wars in various capacities. Because at that point, when Dave would be like, well, it's kind of like Qui-Gon Jinn. I'm like, I always felt like Qui-Gon was like, and Dave would be like, the father that Anakin needed. Yeah, right. And then the father, he falls up, and he's like, no, it's like the father, goes away, and then it's the older brother that has to raise the kid, and he's not ready. And I'm like, that's what George was saying, right? He's like, yeah, I think so. And because we were studying those movies, we were like, what is George thinking here? What is going on? So anyway, I'm a huge fan of anything that guy comes up with.
So does that change your perspective at all on George Lucas? Does that give you a better understanding, or maybe even just a different way of taking a look at how George was so instrumental, not just in shaping Star Wars and the future of that franchise, but how that franchise has actually touched and shaped almost all of the media that we have today? And I don't say that to brag or to puff out our chest as Star Wars fans say, see, yeah, you can watch things on YouTube because of George Lucas. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is you got to give a little bit of credit to George for the way that he did the things that he did. And maybe, just maybe, even though you might not have preferred all of the choices he made, there is one theme that pulls it all together, and it really keeps things moving in the same direction, and is the theme that makes Star Wars Star Wars. Now, if you want to see what it would have been like if George had made another decision very differently than he already did, which is, what if George had never sold to Disney? Check out that video right here. My name is Jeremy. Thanks for watching. And remember, the Force will be with you always.